You bastards. Today we're gonna have a little talk about Diablo 4's Druid. It sucks, but not for the reasons you think it does. Essentially what we have here is a skeleton of a class without any of the meat. In order to explain to you what I mean by that exactly, we will need to have a look at the skill tree first. So here we have the skill tree. I have a max level druid running a decent build, but I don't want to talk about this build yet. I want to show you everything else and why it doesn't work. You'll notice here there's a lot of build paths. You can go werewolf, crit damage, you can go a poison build, you can go for overwhelm with the bear skills, but if you pick any one of these, you will notice a common trend. Nothing works. Let's follow the werewolf build, because it's the one most impacted. The highest damage perks are technically the ones that give you crit damage. What that assumes is that you have some form of crit. However, if you take a quick gander over the entire skill tree, what you'll notice is that there isn't a single fucking thing werewolf related that actually gives you some fucking crit. Not a single damn thing. Werewolf skills. Wolfpack. Both of these require high amounts of crit in order to actually do their damage, but we don't have an ounce of crit. You can spec into ravens for a whopping 5% crit. Or maybe you'd like to go for vine creeper so that you can get a solid 20% crit. Whoa. For 3 seconds on a 20-second cooldown. Why, that sure sounds fun. Yeah, not so much. The same goes for every other build you can go with for Druid, except for Lightning, and we'll go into that in a little while as well, but first let's talk about why transforming is a piece of shit. It's because of this right here. Spirit boons. Spirit boons are our class mechanic. By the looks of it, considering how few of them there are, I would wager that these spirit boons have massive effects on your class, comparable with some of your best legendaries. That all sounds good. However, it seems like some fuckwit over at Blizzard decided it would be a funny, brilliant idea to put the Druid class mechanic on the other side of the fucking map. So now, you're not just a Druid, you're a fucking pilgrim as well, going on this grand quest in the opposite direction of where everyone is at just to get your fucking class mechanic. Except you can't in the beta, because those are not unlocked. So they release Druid for you to test without the things that make Druid work in any conceivable way. So really the only thing that you can do is run builds that don't require any perks from the spirit boons. I don't think I need to tell you why this sucks, because you probably felt it yourself if you played a Druid. But make no mistake, the Druid still sucks for many other reasons as well, because the class is also horrible before level 15. Now the problem is, what you're left with is just the elemental builds. If you take a look at the Spirit Boon tree, you'll see a bunch of icons that have a lot to do with animals, but not a single one with the elemental stuff. And that is also reflected in the fact that the only skill tree that seems to have some depth is the lightning one. Of course, they put all the shapeshifting inside of your boons, and since you don't have them, all you're left with is the half-baked builds, the niche druid builds using the elemental skills that are not reflected in your boons. So let's talk about one of these builds. Okay, so let's quickly speed run my build. We are going Storm Strike. This is the only basic attack that actually works for you for this class. This is useless. It does not generate enough spirit. Same with this, same with this. This does generate enough spirit. However, if you're trying to attack something at long range that is even moderately mobile, your shit will miss. And to top it off, this is going to stun you because it's so fucking slow. You're just sitting still for basically an entire second trying to cast this useless projectile that does also no damage. So this is your only choice for basic attack. it gives you 25% damage reduction, bolts to 3 surrounding enemies, and does a whole bunch of damage. This will make it so it can stun as well, and this will make it so it has a 50% chance to make enemies vulnerable. Now here, we have Tornado. It's the only viable core skill. This is useless, doesn't do any damage. This is kind of useful in very niche situations and maybe will be good with the spirit boons. But right now it's kind of useless as well. People just pick it for overpower and pulverize and stun. But it doesn't do enough damage. Certainly not as much as Tornado, which is what we're running. So you want Tornado and the ability to cast it with a 20% chance to spawn an additional Tornado. This is all you need here. You definitely don't want this. This is useless. Your Tornado will never stack up a slow. And this, it's only a 10% chance. We'll talk about vulnerability later. You want 1 in Heart of the Wild and 3 in Abundance for extra spirit generation. Then you want Blood Howl. The heal isn't as important. You're just picking it to have the ability. This will make it so every time you kill something, you will have the ability's cooldown be reduced by 1 second, which is great. You will basically likely cast this twice in every single encounter. And then you pick this, so you get more spirit. Of course, spirit generation, most important thing. Here, this is just flavor. I pick wolves because they're broken in many ways. They don't do any damage. Make no mistake, I'm not saying they're broken because they'll do some damage. I'm saying they're broken because in this game, minions make you immortal. That's why they are broken. Also, this for some extra CC, you can put this point really in anything you want. You want any skill here. Doesn't really matter which one you pick. You can throw it in there. This is the important stuff. First, you want Hurricane. This is a damage over time. The damage of the ability itself is not as important as what happens with the fact that you do damage over time. And this here's for the slow. Again, not really important in any way. You can throw it on any other ability that you want. Preferably a passive, because slot's full. This is where the magic happens. So you have Elemental Exposure. This gives you 20% chance on all storm skills to make enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. That means you don't have to pick this. It makes this perk completely useless. It makes this completely useless. And this is useless and also pretty useless as well. So overall, all of your main abilities don't actually have a third point to put into them, which is kind of sad. Like, Druid is indeed in a very sad state. I don't know what the fuck Blizzard was thinking designing this shit. And let's go into what actually does damage. This is not it. This is just a point so we can get to Bad Omen. This is a Bad Omen build. Now, for this build, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make enemies vulnerable, immobilized, or stunned, so that then you can hit them with multi-hit abilities and proc lightning. Think of this build like playing Wind Fury Shaman in classic World of Warcraft. You're just waiting for that 30% chance to proc, and it'll proc a whole bunch of times. The enemies are by default debuffed. It's all pretty damn nice. You'll be seeing a whole bunch of damage, mostly coming out of Bad Omen and Tornadoes. And that's the build. Okay, so the Druid. Honest opinion, don't knock it out yet. Even though it looks like a piece of shit right now, keep in mind that every single one of the other classes has their class mechanic. while Druid does not, because you gotta go on a fucking pilgrimage first. Don't know why that works the way it does, but that's that's what it is. That's what you'll have to do as a Druid. So keep that in mind, and keep in mind that you're lacking the meat on your bones as a Druid when you make this comparison. What you really have to consider after playing Druid during this beta is not whether or not the Druid's damage and tankiness is satisfying. What you have to look out for is, how did you like playing Druid? Did you like its abilities, how it moves, how it looks? That's what you're really looking at. That's what you should be focusing on, because everything else is kind of irrelevant in its current state, because who knows what the spirit boons will be. For all we know, the spirit boons will come along and it'll make Druid the most broken class in the game. Certainly a possibility. Necromancer barely fucking got balanced, and we didn't get to test Druid, right? That's the bigger issue here, because we didn't get to test Druid in its fullest form. We got to test Sorcerer and Necromancer, and my guess is gonna be those two will be nerfed into the ground by the time of release. Like it didn't they're not gonna be nerfed into the ground. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but they will be brought down to the same level as Rogue at the very least, if not even Warrior. So sure they'll play better, but it won't play to the absurd amount that they have right now. So Druid will close the gap by the simple fact that it's everybody else is not going to be as broken as they are right now. So don't worry about that. My worry is that we're going to be getting to the release and Druid is going to be completely fucking busted because we didn't get to test its actual spirit boons. So we'll go in and will have to be nerfed on release. That's my actual worry. Because again, we have some mystery mechanics that we don't know how they fucking work. We don't know what they do, and then you also have to factor in Druid's best weapons, the ones that actually make the most sense, are an axe and a totem. Because the totem reduces the cost of your abilities, so you will spend less spirit, and that is insane. If you could actually get that with a legendary, you are golden, my man. I mean, that by itself is basically a legendary trait when you consider how the druid works. And I'm gonna be streaming a little bit on this last fine day. I'm gonna be getting some footage of playing with the totem and actually min-maxing my secondary stats to see how the druid will play in its best state. So that's something to look forward to. Seeing the druid in some proper action as a final send-off. As for me personally, yeah, I'm definitely picking druid. It might be Stockholm Syndrome because I've been playing druid all weekend and I haven't really been trying other classes, just haven't really found my vibe there. I tried Necromancer and I was like, eh. Everybody likes this? Come on, man. You like the damage. I don't think it's gonna stick around either. So yeah, Druid for me. I'll be seeing you guys on release. We'll be seeing those spirit boons together and theorizing on how we're gonna make this shit work in case we have unfortunately still made a bad choice. Because right now, let's be honest, Druid is a bad choice. Your shit doesn't work. Your abilities have nothing backing them up. And so we will need to figure something out together. That was it from me today. I'll see you bastards next time.